For 25 years, I scrubbed floors and emptied trash bins at St. Margaret's Hospital so my daughter could have the life I never did. I worked holidays, took night shifts, and wore the same winter coat for 15 years while she went to college, landed a prestigious job, and got engaged to a wealthy lawyer. But days before her wedding, I accidentally discovered the truth. My own daughter was ashamed of me. She'd taken $60,000 of my hard-earned savings for her dream wedding, but didn't want the cleaning lady to embarrass her in front of her fiancé's influential family. She never expected that I would find out, or that I would do something about it. What happened at that wedding changed both our lives forever. I still remember the day my husband Michael died. Olivia was only 7, with her father's bright eyes and curious mind. With only a high school education and no family to help, I took the first job I could find, cleaning the halls of St. Margaret's Hospital. The hours were long, the pay was minimal, but it kept food on our table and a roof over our heads. For 25 years, I scrubbed floors, sanitized rooms, and emptied trash bins. I worked holidays, weekends, and night shifts so Olivia could have the opportunities I never had. When she showed academic promise, I took extra shifts to pay for tutors. When she was accepted into a prestigious university, I cleaned faculty offices after hours to afford her dormitory fees. I lived in our small one-bedroom apartment, sleeping on the pull-out couch so she could have the bedroom when she visited from college. Every dollar I saved went into an account for Olivia's future. I wore the same winter coat for 15 years, cut my own hair, and never took vacations. But it was worth it to see her graduate with honors, land a job at a top marketing firm, and eventually meet Christopher, the handsome lawyer who proposed with a diamond ring that probably cost more than my yearly salary. When Olivia announced her engagement, I was overjoyed. "I'll help with the wedding costs," I promised, knowing I had saved $45,000 over the years. Her eyes lit up, but something in her smile didn't quite reach them. It was Tuesday afternoon when I slipped on a freshly mopped floor while carrying cleaning supplies to the pediatric ward. The fall wasn't serious, just a sprained wrist and some bruising, but my supervisor insisted I rest in the staff room until the end of my shift. I was lying on the couch behind a partition when the door opened and familiar voices filled the room. "Olivia, darling, you seem stressed. Is everything on track for Saturday?" It was Dr. Reynolds, Christopher's mother and chief surgeon at St. Margaret's. "The venue is perfect, the flowers are arranged, but there's still one problem," Olivia sighed. "My mother is insisting on attending." Dr. Reynolds lowered her voice. "I thought we discussed this. The guest list includes the hospital board, 3 judges, and Christopher's father's political connections. Having a cleaner there would be uncomfortable." My heart stopped. I held my breath, hoping, praying I had misheard. "I know," my daughter replied. "I told her she could come to the ceremony, but I've seated her in the back corner. For the reception, I've made up an excuse about limited space." "And the money she promised?" Dr. Reynolds asked. "Already transferred to our account. We used it for the honeymoon deposit and my dress. She thinks it went to venue costs." My daughter's laugh, the same laugh I'd cherished since she was a child, now felt like a knife twisting in my chest. "Don't worry, she won't cause any trouble. After all these years of cleaning up after others, she knows her place." I waited until they left before emerging from behind the partition, my hands trembling. I told myself there must be some explanation. Perhaps Olivia was pressured by Christopher's family. She couldn't possibly mean those words, not my daughter. That evening, I called Olivia to check on the wedding preparations, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sweetie, I was thinking about my outfit for Saturday. What color are the mothers wearing?" "Oh, Mom," she hesitated. "About that. Christopher's family has invited some important people. Maybe you could just come to the ceremony. The reception is limited in space." The confirmation stung worse than I'd imagined. I hung up and called my friend Darlene, who had worked alongside me at St. Margaret's for 20 years. "Something's not right," I told her. "I need to see what's really happening." The next day, Darlene, who cleaned the administrative offices, called me. "Eleanor, I found something." The wedding planner left her folder in the conference room after meeting with Dr. Reynolds. The planning document showed a lavish 200-person reception at the Bellevue estate, hardly a venue with limited space. But what truly shattered me was a printed email from Olivia to the wedding planner. "Please ensure my mother is seated in the back row for the ceremony only. For planning purposes, she was a necessity for funding, but not part of the reception guest list." Attached was a spreadsheet tracking my money. $45,000 divided between Olivia's designer dress, their honeymoon to Bali, and a buffer fund for what they called mother management. As I stared at the wedding planner's documents, everything suddenly made sense. The way Olivia always met me for coffee in obscure cafes far from her office, how she'd never invited Christopher to our apartment, the uncomfortable silence when I'd mentioned attending her office Christmas party last year. I hadn't just been excluded from her wedding, I'd been systematically erased from her new life. That night, I couldn't sleep. My wrist throbbed, but the pain in my heart was far worse. I pulled out the photo albums I'd meticulously kept throughout Olivia's life. Her first steps, her high school graduation where she'd hugged me tight and whispered, "I couldn't have done this without you, Mom." The day she moved into her college dorm, when she'd cried and made me promise to call every Sunday. When had my daughter become this person? Or had she always been this way, and I was too blinded by love to see it? My phone chimed with a text from Olivia. "Mom, can you transfer another $5,000? There's been an unexpected catering issue." I felt sick. No apology for excluding me. No mention of our call. Just another demand for money. I typed back, "Of course, sweetheart. Anything for your special day." That night, my old friend Marion from accounting called. "Eleanor, I checked like you asked. In the past year, you've transferred nearly $60,000 to Olivia, not just the $45,000 you mentioned." I froze. The additional money had come from my retirement fund. Funds I'd told Olivia were strictly for emergencies. "There's more," Marion continued. "I found a loan application where Olivia listed you as a co-signer for their house down payment, $120,000. Did you authorize that?" "No," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I never signed anything like that." After hanging up, I sat in my darkened apartment, surrounded by photos of a daughter who seemed to exist only in my memories now. The daughter I knew wouldn't forge my signature or see me as nothing more than a bank account to be drained. But grief wouldn't solve this. For once in my life, I needed to think of myself first. The next morning, I called Olivia. "Sweetheart, I've been thinking, your wedding should be perfect. I'm transferring the $5,000 and I've been considering something else. After the wedding, I could help with a down payment on a house." Her voice instantly brightened. "Oh, Mom, that would be amazing. Christopher's parents offered to help, but having your contribution would mean we could look at those properties in lakeside estates." "Of course," I said softly. "I want you to have everything I didn't." "I knew you'd understand," she said. "By the way, about the ceremony seating, I've arranged for you to sit in a special area. It's more comfortable for someone your age. The back row, away from the important guests." "That sounds perfect," I replied. As soon as we hung up, I called my bank and froze my accounts. Then I contacted a lawyer about the fraudulent loan application. Next was the hospital's legal department about my fall, the one where I was injured because the maintenance manager had ignored my repeated requests to fix the leaking pipe that caused the wet floor. Finally, I called Darlene. "I need a favor, a big one." My small apartment became command central. With Darlene's help, I gathered evidence, the forged loan documents, screenshots of the wedding plans showing my deliberate exclusion, and bank statements tracking every dollar I'd given Olivia. "What about this?" Darlene handed me a stack of statements from a credit card I didn't recognize. My heart sank. Somehow, Olivia had opened a credit account in my name. The charges were staggering. Designer clothes, restaurants I could never afford, weekend trips to New York. The balance, $23,000. This wasn't just about the wedding anymore. This was identity theft. I never thought I'd have to protect myself from my own daughter, I said, voice trembling. That's why it hurts so much, Darlene replied, squeezing my hand. But Eleanor, when did you last do something just for yourself? I couldn't remember. The next day, I visited Marcus Chen, the lawyer who handled my husband's meager estate years ago. He reviewed everything and looked up gravely. Eleanor, this is serious. The loan forgery alone is criminal. You have options, including pressing charges. I don't want to send my daughter to jail, I said. I just want to stop the bleeding and make her understand what she's done. Marcus nodded. Then we need leverage and protection. First, let's secure your finances and identity. Then we address the wedding. Over the next 3 days, I followed his advice. Filing fraud alerts with credit bureaus, legally documenting the forged signatures, and transferring my remaining assets to new secured accounts. I reported the missing venue funds to the wedding planner, making it clear they were misappropriated. The Friday before the wedding, my phone exploded with panicked calls from Olivia. I let them go to voicemail, listening as her messages evolved from confused to desperate. Mom, the venue manager says they haven't received the final payment. There must be some mistake. Mom, please call me back. The caterer is threatening to cancel. Mom, where are you? Christopher's parents are asking questions I can't answer. Finally, I answered. Olivia was sobbing. Everything's falling apart. The venue says you reported the money as misappropriated and they won't proceed without full payment. Christopher's mother is furious, saying I'm embarrassing them. What have you done? For the first time in her life, I didn't rush to fix Olivia's problems. I've done exactly what you forced me to do, I replied calmly. I've stopped allowing you to use me. What are you talking about? Is this about not sitting at the front during the ceremony? Fine, you can sit wherever you want. This isn't about seating, Olivia. This is about you forging my signature on loan documents, opening credit cards in my name, deliberately hiding me from your new life while still taking my money. Silence. Then, how did you find out? I overheard you and Dr. Reynolds in the hospital. I saw the wedding planner's notes. I discovered the loans and credit cards. Her voice hardened. You had no right to go through my personal. I had every right to protect myself from fraud, I interrupted. The venue funds were mine, and I've instructed them how they may be used. If you want your wedding tomorrow, you'll need to meet my conditions. Conditions? She sputtered. You can't be serious. Deadly serious. Meet me at Rosie's Diner in 1 hour. Come alone. Or spend tomorrow explaining to 200 guests why there's no wedding. Rosie's Diner was where I'd taken Olivia for chocolate milkshakes after ballet recitals and doctor appointments. It was where we'd celebrated her college acceptance letter, splitting a slice of apple pie and planning her bright future. Now, sitting in our old booth, I barely recognized the woman who slid in across from me. Her tailored blazer and perfectly highlighted hair belonged to someone who lived in a world I cleaned but never entered. You've ruined everything, she hissed, eyes red from crying. Christopher's family is threatening to call off the wedding. I placed a folder on the table. This contains evidence of every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, and every dollar you've taken from me under false pretenses. Mom, please. I'm not finished, I said quietly. For 25 years, I've worked my fingers raw so you could have opportunities. I've never complained. I've never asked for gratitude. But I never thought you'd be ashamed of me. I'm not, she started, then stopped. It's complicated. Christopher's family, they have expectations. So you decided I wasn't good enough to be seen at your wedding? That I was just an ATM to fund your dress and honeymoon? Her eyes dropped to the table. What do you want from me? First, admission. Tell me the truth. All of it. She hesitated. Then words spilled out. how Christopher's mother had made comments about elevating one's social standing, how his father had asked pointed questions about her background, how desperately she wanted to belong in their world. "So you decided to erase me," I concluded. "I was going to pay you back after we were married. Christopher doesn't even know about the loan or credit cards. I just wanted to fit in." Option 1. I contact the police about the identity theft and loan fraud. I show these documents to Christopher and his family. The wedding is canceled, and you face potential criminal charges. Olivia's face drained of color. "You wouldn't. I never thought you would forge my signature or hide me from your wedding either. We're both surprising each other lately." I slid a second document across the table. Option 2. You sign this. It acknowledges your debt to me, every penny you've taken, to be repaid on a schedule we'll establish. It also requires you to tell Christopher the complete truth before the wedding. But his family will either accept you with your cleaning lady mother or they won't. But no more lies. Olivia stared at the paper, tears spilling onto the laminated table. "And the wedding? If you sign and agree to my terms, I'll release the funds to the venue. The wedding proceeds." "Will you be there?" she whispered. "That depends on what happens tomorrow," I answered honestly. "I haven't decided yet." Her hand trembled as she signed the document. As I watched, I remembered the little girl who once drew me world's best mom cards. Where had that child gone? "There's something else you should know," I said, gathering my purse. "I've been offered a promotion at St. Margaret's, administrative supervisor for all custodial services. Better hours, better pay." "That's good," she said uncertainly. "I've also filed a workplace injury claim for my fall. The settlement offer is substantial." I left the diner without looking back, knowing that tomorrow would be the true test of whether my daughter could change. The morning of Olivia's wedding dawned bright and clear. I stood in front of my mirror, hardly recognizing the woman reflected back. My silver-streaked hair was elegantly styled, my makeup subtle but flattering. The royal blue dress I'd splurged on hugged my figure, highlighting the strength in my shoulders from years of physical work. For once, I looked how I felt inside, dignified and worthy of respect. My phone chimed with a text from Olivia. "The venue is ready. Christopher knows everything. We want you there. Please come." I took a deep breath and called my taxi. At the Bellevue estate, guests were already arriving. I spotted Dr. Reynolds at the entrance, her critical eyes scanning each arrival. When she saw me step from the taxi, her expression soured. "Eleanor," she said stiffly, "I wasn't sure you'd come." "I wouldn't miss my daughter's wedding," I replied calmly. Before she could respond, Christopher appeared, handsome in his tuxedo. To my surprise, he approached me directly. "Mrs. Collins," he said, taking my hands, "I want to personally escort you to your seat. Olivia has told me everything, and I'm deeply sorry for how you've been treated." Dr. Reynolds' jaw tightened as her son offered me his arm. "Mother," he added, "I expect you to show Mrs. Collins the respect she deserves as Olivia's mother and my future mother-in-law." As he led me not to the back row but to the front, reserved for immediate family, whispers followed us. I held my head high, feeling a strange mixture of vindication and sadness. The ceremony was beautiful. When Olivia walked down the aisle, our eyes met briefly. I saw recognition there, and something like regret. At the reception, I was seated at the family table, directly across from Dr. Reynolds, who could barely conceal her displeasure. Whispers continued to circulate among the guests about the cleaning lady seated with the family. When it came time for toasts, Christopher stood first, thanking everyone for coming. Then, to my shock, he gestured for me to join him. "I'd like to invite Eleanor Collins to say a few words," he announced, "without whom this wedding literally wouldn't have been possible." As I approached the microphone, the room fell silent. I could feel every eye on me, judging, curious, dismissive. "For those who don't know me, I'm Olivia's mother," I began. And yes, I've spent 25 years as a cleaner at St. Margaret's Hospital. Uncomfortable shifting rippled through the crowd. I've emptied Dr. Reynolds' trash bins, I continued, nodding toward my new in-law. I've mopped floors while judges and executives walked past without seeing me. I've been invisible to most of you in this room. The silence deepened. But today, I want you to see me. Not as a cleaner, but as a mother who worked 3 shifts to put her daughter through college. As a woman who never missed a mortgage payment. As someone who kept her dignity while doing work many of you consider beneath you. I turned to Olivia, whose eyes were filled with tears. My daughter was ashamed of me. She thought I wasn't good enough for this room. For a while, I believed her. I reached into my purse and removed a small blue envelope. My wedding gift isn't money. I've given enough of that. Instead, it's this, the truth about who I am and who Olivia comes from. I handed the envelope to Olivia. Inside was a single photograph. Her father and me on our wedding day, standing outside the very same diner where we'd had our confrontation. The reception continued, with some guests avoiding me while others approached with new respect. Dr. Reynolds eventually cornered me by the dessert table. That was quite a performance, she said coolly. It wasn't a performance, I replied. Just the truth we both know needed saying. She studied me for a long moment. Perhaps I misjudged you. Most people do, I said, selecting a chocolate-dipped strawberry. That's their loss. As the evening wound down, Olivia found me on the terrace, gazing at the stars. She'd changed from her wedding gown into a simpler dress for the send-off. Mom, she said softly, I don't know how to make this right. You can't, not overnight. Trust takes years to build, moments to break, and a lifetime to repair. She nodded, tears threatening again. I was so desperate to be someone else, someone from a different background. I didn't realize what I was throwing away. We both have healing to do, I said, but we'll start with honesty. After they left, I didn't go home immediately. Instead, I sat alone, watching the remaining guests dance under twinkling lights. For the first time in decades, I felt visible, truly seen. 6 months later, I attended dinner at their modest new apartment. As we gathered around the table, Olivia raised her glass. To my mother, she said, voice steady, who taught me that dignity isn't about what you do, but how you do it.